Can you tell me what going to school was like as a young person?
Well, I went to, excuse me, I was born in Ocoee, and when I was very young, before I started school, we went to Tampa and lived for up until I was about 13, and then we came back. And in the meantime, when my mother and father married, my grandfather bought them a home there in Ocoee. And so when we left, we left that with my great aunt in charge of it. Well, of course, that wasn't the best situation, but that's another story. But I went to Seminole Heights Elementary School in Tampa, Florida, and I loved it. I just adored Tampa. And then my father got ill, and we came back because we owned that house and that small grove there in downtown Ocoee. And so I went 1 year to Ocoee School, and I'll never forget it because I was going into the 6th grade, and they had a brick school, and then they had the stucco white school. And I didn't want to go to the elementary school because my sister was going over to the big school. I called it the big school. So I knocked on the principal's door, and I told him who I was, and I had just arrived. I can see myself now, and I'm thinking, here I was just kind of a tall drink of water for a girl that's going in the 6th grade, because I was the tallest girl in the class, in my day. And I told him who I was, and I said, I really just feel like I can do 7th grade work. And I said, I don't want to go to that school over there. And he says, why not? I said, oh, it has all those oak trees, and there's not any sunshine, and I just know I could do 7th grade work. And he looked at me and he said, well, you really think you could? And I said, oh, yes, I'm from the city. He let me go into 7th grade. And I went, and when I went into 7th grade, he pulled 2 kids out to make room for me because it was a big class. And he pulled out 2 kids, the smartest, and Gene Grafton's brother was one of them. Frank Grafton was one of them, and Edna Humphrey was the girl. And they got up and they went into the 8th grade. And I went into the 7th grade. Now, isn't that a nice story?
Yeah.
And so I was quite young when I got out of school, But, and then the Junior Vandergriff, who is the mayor of Ocoee, he had there were 3 boys in my 7th grade class that were his brothers. And of course, 2 of them, they didn't care a thing about school. They had failed a couple of times, and they were 14, 15 years old in 7th grade. But it was a while. It was wild. So I just went there 1 year, and then my sister just did not care for it. So my mother went to Orange County and got permission for us to go to, for me to go to Memorial Junior High School in Orlando, and my sister went to Orlando High, and we'd catch the city bus. And that caused a lot of commotion in Ocoee. Can you imagine? Because we were living close enough to hear the bell ring. But it was interesting. But it was the school was it was hard. It was hard. I don't mean by books or anything like that. The surroundings and all were hard because of all these children that had come in, because these were the children of the people that had come in. And it was just, it was, I don't know quite how to put it, but these folks had a hard time. And some of them made it and has done very well. You have to really give them credit. But it was a difficult time for all of us, for them and for the other folks.
Can you talk about what kinds of changes you've seen over the years in Ocoee? How it is today compared with...
Not that much.
Really?
Not the streets have changed, but there's an element in Ocoee that is still 1920 mentality. And I don't know why that has carried over, because we've had change, we've had management, we've had very nice young men come in from all over the country to work and to be a part of Ocoee. But the element that there's just enough there to just kill it. And I just don't know how that, to get it the way we want it, we've got to really just be cold-blooded. I hate to say it, because some of these folks have never gone out of Ocoee. They came, they struggled, and they're going to hang on for dear life. I can't explain it.
And when you say to get it the way we want it, what would you like
I
Ocoee
would
to be like?
I would like to see Ocoee. When I was young, it was charming. It really was, because I would come up from Tampa and spend 2 or 3 weeks with my great aunt, and they had oak trees in the middle of the road, and they had a lot of farming, and what people that weren't growing oranges were farming, and the neighbors would drop off a bushel of vegetables for you, and you'd get a bushel of onions and a bushel of string beans, and you'd be canning all summer. It was just a healthy, wonderful. I learned so much just in those few weeks coming up each summer to see what was really going on, and the packing houses were going. Everything was lively. There was a lot going on, and but I just, and I look back on it and I think, gee, what happened? What happened? Now and now I think it would be wonderful. We don't want to be like Winter Garden. I think we would like to be what we are. We're a farming community, but I think downtown there's nothing there. There's no anchor in downtown, and I foresee that with little antique shops and good food places, and then I think where the city hall is, that should be a tourist center. All that, because they've got a place there. They have a marvelous place for a hostel, and then they've got the community center that the tourists could go and play cards and what have you. Everything is there. It's just that we need that energy, and we just haven't hit the combination of personalities to do that.
For your great-great-grandchildren listening to this years from now,
Oh,
what would you want them to know?
dear. Well, I think I never really thought about family when I was young, the contacts, the whole process of family, until I got much older. And I think that it's nice to know where you come from. And our population today it's not that way so much. There's so much, people don't think of that today. It's what is now. And I think we're losing some of that. I think that it really is interesting to see, to know what your grandfather did, or what your father did, or way back even before your grandfather, what did his dad do? And the traits of the family, it's amazing. The traits seem to follow you all through history. It's very interesting. And I would like to, I've always wanted my children's children to know that I didn't let life pass me by. I did something. It may have not been much, but nevertheless, I feel like I have had a very, very full life, and I didn't just let time slip away from me. And I think that's important for everyone to come up and say, look, I didn't do all the things I wanted to do, but I did this and I did that,
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
Well, I'm very proud of all my children. I had 5 children, and they're all very talented people, and they're well educated, thank God. And I wish that they lived closer to me, but nevertheless, they have their own lives. And but I am very proud of that, and I'm very proud of having hung on to my little piece of property in Ocoee since 1884, 1883, something like that. And here I am, 88, and I've come back to that little piece that because I've had several chances since I've owned it in the 60s to sell it and make an awful lot of money, but I didn't. And this last time when they had that big, real estate boom, I could have gotten a small fortune, and I turned it down from some fella in Windermere. And my son's mother is not going to go up again for 30 years. And I said, that's okay. I won't be here. You won't be here. But I said, we've got 4 grandchildren. And, maybe that they may just be in a position to say, heck, I'll hang on to it a few more years. But I think that gives them an anchor. Whether they don't need it now, but you never know, they may need it later. So.
Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Oh, well, thank you.